Accolade Global News Updates. I am Soibifa Jackridge. Hamas has proposed a ceasefire plan that would quiet the guns in Gaza for 4.5 months, leading to an end to the war. In response to a proposal sent last week by Qatari and Egyptian mediators and backed by the United States and Israel, the proposal would see militants exchange remaining Israeli hostages they captured on October 7th for Palestinian prisoners. The reconstruction of Gaza would begin, Israeli forces would withdraw completely, and bodies and remains would be exchanged. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived overnight in Israel after meeting the leaders of mediators Qatar and Egypt in the most serious diplomatic push of the war so far, aimed at reaching an extended truce. Details of Hamas' counteroffer have not previously been reported. According to the Hamas counter-proposal, all Israeli women hostages, males under 19, the elderly and sick, would be released during the first 45 days phase in exchange for the release of Palestinian women and children from Israeli jails. Remaining males hostages would be released during the second phase and remains exchanged in the third phase. By the end of the third phase, Hamas would expect the sides to have reached agreements on an end to the war. The group, which governs Gaza, said in an addendum to the proposal that it wishes for the release of 1,500 prisoners, a third of whom it wanted to select from the A list of Palestinians handed life sentenced by Israel. The truce would also increase the flow of food and other aid to Gaza's desperate civilians who are facing hunger and dire shortages of basic supplies. Israel began its military offensive in Gaza after militants from Hamas ruled Gaza, killed 1,200 people and took 253 hostages in southern Israel. On October 7th, Gaza's health ministry says at least 27,585 Palestinians have been confirmed killed in Israel's military campaign, with thousands more feared buried under rubble. Two blasts took place near electoral candidate office in Pakistan's southwestern province of Balochistan, local officials said on Wednesday, killing 22 people and raising concerns over security in the lead up to Thursday's polls. Pakistan goes to the poll amid rising militant attacks in recent months and the jailing of Imran Khan, the winner of the last national election, who has been dominating the headlines despite an economic crisis and other woes threatening the nuclear-armed country. Authorities have said they are boosting security at polling booths. The first attack, which killed 12, took place at the office of an independent election candidate in Pishin district. Second explosion in Quila, Safula, a town near the Afghan border, detonated near an office of Jamaat Ulema Islam (GUI), a religious party that has previously been the target of militant attacks, according to the province information minister. It was not immediately clear who was behind the attacks. Several groups, including the Islamic militant Pakistani Taliban and separatist group from Balochistan, oppose the Pakistani state and have carried out attacks in recent months. Kanzai Hospital, close to the site of explosion in Pishin, gave the death toll as 12 and said more than 2 dozen were injured. Deputy Commissioner of Pishin District, Juma Dad Khan, said the blast had injured many people. The attacks came as political parties wrapped up their campaigning in the quiet period mandated by electoral rules the day before the election. Jailed former Pakistani Premier Khan earlier urged the supporters to wait aside polling booths after casting their votes, as rival political parties held large rallies to mark the end of the election campaign period. Any large-scale gathering of Khan supporters near booths could raise tensions because of what they call a military-backed crackdown on him and his party that has restricted campaigning. The military denies interfering in politics. Russia has launched several waves of missile strikes on Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities during Wednesday morning rush hours. Ukrainian officials said with failing debris from the downed weapons cutting off electricity to parts of the capital. Several waves of blasts rocked by Kyiv during the attack, the first in February, with air defense systems engaged in destroying the missile. Kyiv Major Vitaly Klitschko said on the Telegram messaging app at least 2 people were injured in Dniprovsky district that lies along the Dnipro River. He added, all of Ukraine was under air raid alert from around 6 a.m. with Ukraine's Air Force warning on Telegram of a risk of Russian missile attacks across the country. The first blasts were heard just before 7 a.m. in Kyiv. The scale of attacks, which lasted several hours, was not immediately known. There was no immediate response from Russia's defense ministry to request to comment. Ukraine's largest private energy company, DTEK, said Dniprovsky district was left partially without electricity. Klitschko said falling debris from a downed Russian missile damaged some power lines. Ole Snehubov, governor of the Kharkiv region in Ukraine's northeast, said Russian missiles struck non-residential infrastructure in Kharkiv city, the administrative center of the region. Republican president candidate Nikki Haley suffered an embarrassing defeat in Nevada's primary on Tuesday, finishing behind ballots marked none of these candidates by supporters of Donald Trump, according to Edison Research. Haley, the last remaining rival to front-runner Trump for the Republican president's nomination, was the only major Republican candidate contesting the party's Nevada primary on Tuesday. Trump was not on the ballots. U.S. President Joe Biden easily won Nevada's Democratic presidential primary after dominating his party's first nominating contest in South Carolina on Saturday. With more than 70% of votes counted, Biden had 90% support. Biden, as an incumbent president, faces little opposition within his own party to running for re-election in a likely general election rematch with Trump in November. Former President Trump will secure all of Nevada's delegates in a separate caucus vote on Thursday as he moves closer to clinching the nomination after back-to-back wins in Iowa and New Hampshire. Trump did not compete in Tuesday's primary, which carried no weight in the Republican presidential nominating contest. Haley is not on the ballot in Thursday's caucus. Republican voters could mark their ballots none of these candidates in Tuesday's primary, and Haley has infuriated Trump by refusing to drop out of the Republican nominating contest. With over 2/3 of Republican ballots counted, Haley had 32% of the votes, with none of these candidates at over 61% and the winner, according to Edison's research. The rival Republican caucus on Thursday is being run by the Trump-friendly State Party, and with only Trump on the ballots, he is almost certainly guaranteed victory and all of the state's 26 delegates to the Republican National Convention in July, when the party formally nominates its candidates. Voters can participate in both the Republican primary on Tuesday and the Republican caucus on Thursday. Microsoft will provide 2 million people in India with AI skilling opportunities by 2025, CEO Satya Nadella said on Wednesday, adding that it is imperative for India and the United States to cooperate on AI norms and regulations. The skilling will focus on training individuals in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, as well as rural areas, and unlock inclusive socio-economic progress, the company said in a statement. I hope consensus emerges, and that is what really helps in some cases with the diffusion of this technology, Nadella said at a conference in Mumbai, referring to global attempts to draw up rules and regulate AI. Nadella said he hoped the diffusion of AI globally would lead to equal distribution of economic growth. That is the size of top accolade global news updates. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Wednesday.